What if I told you that you can deploy an API that scales globally, runs blazing fast, and costs almost nothing, and it only takes a few minutes to set up? Today, I'll show you how to build a Chuck Norris Jokes API that's global and free until you hit 1 million requests per month. We're gonna start by installing TS Node.
Wow!
Well, because I love TypeScript. Then we're gonna install Express to create our web server and build this API. And we're also gonna install type definitions for Express, which provides intelligent autocomplete and error checker in our editor. Like this, so we can catch our spelling mistakes before we run the code. Then we want to add a tsconfig file. Next, let's create source folder and add add.ts file inside it. In here, first import Express, initialize our app, and add this listen function. Now, let's run our app locally, and for that we want to install Nodemon. Then we want to add these scripts in our package.json. So, we can start our Express app with this simple command. Then right from the beginning I want to structure this correctly by adding routes and controllers folders. Back in the day I was in a job interview and they asked me, how would you structure this code so it's maintainable and scalable for a team? And the answer is to divide everything where they belong and use descriptive function and variable names that everybody can understand. Back to creating our router. Name it as Jokes router, because we can have many routers in our app and we want to be specific right from the get-go. Then I want to export the router so that our app can use it. When this route gets called, this controller function gets triggered. Let's write out the function and use the public Chuck Norris API. Log the response. I'll show you why in just a second. Keep watching, it has something to do with AWS CloudWatch. Then await the pending HTTP request and resolve it as JSON so we can get usable data. Give the response out of our API as JSON like this, because inside the value property lies the joke string. Remember to import the controller function to our router and also import the jokes router into our app. Then we can test that everything works like it should on Postman or even in a browser. We're gonna use AWS API Gateway and AWS Lambda to deploy our Express app. This way is the easiest and the cheapest way to deploy our API. And when we navigate to API Gateway Invoke URL, we can get the Chuck Norris jokes through our own API. Now, let's hop into AWS Cloud and let's start by opening Lambda service and select region closest to you. Create Lambda, enter the name, and keep everything else as default. Then we want to build out our Express app and upload it to the Lambda we just created. But before that, we need a small bridge between them. That's where NVIDIA Serverless Express comes in. It lets AWS Lambda handle the incoming events and route them through our Express servers seamlessly. Run npm install Vendia serverless and types for AWS Lambda to satisfy the build, so we don't get any build time errors. Create index.ts file. This will be the main file that AWS Lambda looks for. Add these following lines of code, and it is very important to return handle variable out of here, because Lambda looks for it. And also remember to export the app variable from app.ts for this to work. Then we want to add a build command in package.json. This part compiles TypeScript files to JavaScript in build folder because that's what we defined in our tsconfig. Then this line just copies package.json into the build folder so Lambda knows our dependencies. And lastly, this part cds inside the build folder and installs production dependencies. Now, let's run the build command. Then we want to compress the build artifacts to a zip file that we will upload into our Lambda function. We could also automate this via S3 bucket. Comment down if you would like to see that. Then, let's navigate to AWS API Gateway and create a new API. We choose HTTP API because it's fast, simple, and cheap. Ideal for most modern use cases. Every API Gateway endpoint is fronted by a global CloudFront distribution. This means requests are routed to the closest edge location of the caller to reduce latency. Name this API as My Chuck Norris API. Add integration and select Lambda from the dropdown. Then, select our Chuck Norris Lambda function and hit Next. Click Add Route And we want to select that any method can go through AWS API Gateway to our Express app. And as the path, we use proxy because we want to handle routing internally just like a normal server would. And remember to add our Lambda function as the integration target. Click Next, keep the stage as default and click Next. Review and hit Create. Click Stages under Deploy and open the Invoke URL. And just like that, our Express API is live and reachable worldwide. One thing I still want to show you guys. Go to CloudWatch, open Lambda logs, and here you can see the console logs inside our Express app. This way is the easiest and the cheapest way to deploy our API on AWS. No need to hassle with load balancers because API Gateway and Lambda scales automatically based on demand. And this is basically free. You can have 1 million API requests per month included in the free tier. And after that, it costs only 20 cents per million requests. With AWS Lambda, your API barely costs anything. You'd need millions of users to even reach a monthly bill. Here's the pricing chart. I really appreciate you tuning in. Drop a comment if you learned something new. Watch this video next, where I'll show you how to connect React app to this API and deploy it on AWS.